Like truly, like imagine a world where everyone is doing their life's work. And so many people are close to what they're meant to be doing as their life's work, and they don't recognize that they're close. And, you know, part of the reason why I love human design so much is because it helps you like land that shit. Like, let's go. And we can change, like what we're doing in a moment gets to change if we'd like it to. However, like there's no reason to wear confusion anymore. Like we get to like feel it and know it and live it. When we don't allow ourselves to be authentically us, we're actually robbing the other person and other people with access to their own selves. When we have parents that understand who they are and how they're designed, and they're able to understand their children and how they're designed, come on. Like, you want to talk about like ending like domestic violence and like, you know, all of these aspects of society that are trauma based. Like this is how you end trauma in my experience, by learning who you are.
Today, my guest is Ameenah Asante. Ameenah is a transformational life coach, psychic intuitive, human design specialist, master-level Reiki practitioner, dance educator, pregnancy and birth doula, fitness and wellness professional, and master trainer. She is also a proud mother of 2 incredible teenagers. Ameenah is originally from East Lansing, Michigan, and after attending Florida State University, Ameenah moved to Japan in 2002, where she happily made Tokyo her home until 2017. While in Tokyo, she founded the personal and professional development company, the Shí Collective, as well as several dance companies and a dynamic following in the fitness and wellness industry. Over the last decade, she has facilitated trainings and retreats in personal development, health and wellness, dance, and fitness worldwide in countries such as Australia, Austria, Sweden, South Korea, Japan, and in many major cities throughout the United States. Ameenah holds a bachelor's degree in psychology and Japanese and a master's degree in international management. She lives her life in an infinite flow state, moves to the rhythm of her agile heart, and milks the most out of each present moment. So turn up the music of your soul. We are about to dance, dance, dance with the amazing Ameenah Asante, right here on Soulgasm with Polo Rio Tate. Ameenah Asante, welcome.
Hello. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. I'm so excited to be here. How are you?
I am so well. I am so excited you're here. And for all of those who are listening, let's just like tell the story of how this all unfolded.
Please, let's do it.
So, spoiler alert, Ameenah and I went to high school together, grew up in the same town of East Lansing, Michigan. Yeah. And as I was sauntering into Crunch Fitness, I wasn't sauntering, actually, I was on my phone, totally preoccupied. Forgive me. Here comes this beautiful breath of brilliant fresh air to open the door for me. And I was like, thank you, you know, like totally in my, like, and she was like, hey, it's good to see you again, just sort of in passing. And I like walked in the gym. I was like, you too. It did not click or register at all. But like 4 seconds later, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What is that? And you, brilliant you, came up to me and was like, okay, didn't we, like, all right. And we were both like, what?
Yeah.
And in talking and catching up for those few minutes, you mentioned your unbelievable gifts and the fact that you're a human design specialist. And I was like, what? You should be a guest on a podcast that I just started called Soulgasm. And you go, what? I have a podcast named Soulgasm. And I was like, this is kismet. Like,
unbelievable.
We have to celebrate the synchronicity of that because there are no accidents. And that was like a huge like explosion of the heart being like, hey, you guys should connect. And so here we are right here, right now. And I'm so glad.
My God, we're here. It's so long overdue. We didn't get a chance to be best buds in high school, but here we are reconnected doing very similar important work for the world. And I'm so like grateful. So grateful. Yeah.
Ooh, I am too. How cool to be able to get to know somebody in a different
Yes.
way with sort of all of the world experience and all of the time that's passed and all of the cumulative nature of both of our beings for us to like sort of meet up at this point. Ooh, it's yummy. So I'm so happy that you wanted to do this. Yay.
Yeah, of course. Yes, I recognize that that ponytail anywhere. I was like, oh my God, we definitely went to school together.
You're like, dear God, still? Really?
No, not at all. Not at all. Like timeless. We haven't aged a bit, darling. Not a bit.
Thank you so much, especially since I just had a birthday. I very much appreciate that even more.
Love it.
Hey.
Love it. Cheers to birthdays.
Here's another ring around this planet, right?
Yes. Yes.
Which brings us to the point of this whole podcast, which is how to get the most out of life, how to feel more and do more and have more and be more in the full expression of who you are. And I am so excited to get into the nitty-gritty of this because you exemplify it beautifully, and all of your brilliance and modalities, your bag of tricks, your bag of study and pursuit of inner work and knowledge is so perfectly right for this conversation. And I'm so excited to hear about sort of your journey through that. So my first question to you always is, what is your passion, Ameenah? What really lights you up?
Absolutely. So my passion really since I was a little girl was and is to become so deeply connected and in my understanding of people. I really, really have loved people for a lifetime. And as a little girl, to be able to look at people and experience their energy and know that what they're going through is not, this is not the last place that they're ever going to experience happiness, to know that there's more that they're called to do, to be a little girl and be with my parents and be with adults and say that, oh, this person is not, truly authentic. Like maybe we should, dig a little deeper in our questioning, Mom. Maybe we shouldn't be so trusting, Dad. Just to have this read and connection with people. And this passion of mine has been with me forever. And it's turned into a depth that I can't get enough of, to be on the inside and looking outward and with people and understanding who we are and what makes us tick.
I love that so much. And I love hearing you talk about a passion that you've had since you were little, because I've heard you speak so eloquently about your childhood. And I think you used the term latchkey kid, and I was like, what? Back? Like, I haven't heard that term in so long. And it hit something deep within me, just in terms of like a resonance, because you spoke about how that sort of solitude, pardon me, coming home at the end of school and not having anybody there for when you got home, that silence, that solitude allowed you to sort of foster a creativity. And I'm wondering, is that where some of that, I know for myself, after my sister was killed, being an only child, that quiet was it pervaded. And it was also, it was not only familiar, but it became my best friend. And in sort of that incubation space where nobody was around, you allowed your creativity and your imagination to grow. And also it gave you time to sort of reflect and observe what was going on around you. Did you find the same thing? How did you come to find your love for people? Was that something innate in you, or was it cultivated by your environment?
Yeah, I definitely know now that it's innate. With human design, my work in human design, it's definitely a major part of my wiring, and we'll talk about it shortly, I'm sure. The silence it was one of those things that I attribute to my ability to connect so strongly to source as a kid, just with there being silence and like very little distraction. Who else is there, right? What else is there? And it was a beautiful yet unfortunate, environment for me to have this connection that I'm so grateful for. Truly, truly. Yeah.
I love you mentioning the fact that now,
Yeah.
like looking at all this stuff in
Yeah.
retrospect, because we all have our stories, right? We all have trauma, and we all have things that happen to us, especially in the early days of childhood, that were definitely imprinting. And we were just talking about right before we started recording about how both of us had that desire growing up here in East Lansing to get out, to really explore the world, and how both of us have had opportunity to go and live in other countries and experience other cultures and experience other states and cities and the world, and then to come back to East Lansing and sort of that relationship. So I think it's fascinating when you talk about looking in retrospect. What were some of the things in your pursuit of inner work and personal work? What really sort of inspired your journey through that? Because it's not a usual path, and it's not always easy.
No, it was not. I'll say it's not always easy. However, it doesn't have to be hard. And my journey
just tell us exactly how it doesn't have to be hard.
It was one of those things that piece by piece, moment by moment, I really liken my ear, my knowing, clairaudience, if you will, listening to intuition, that which step was next. And me finding myself from East Lansing, going to school in Florida, then majoring in Japanese, and then going to Japan, all of these pieces just lined up. And I'm really, really grateful. I'm aware of how privileged I am as far as what I've experienced. And also I wish more families talked about intuition more with their children and with each other, so kids know that they have an option, that it doesn't have to be a traditional path, that it doesn't have to be that safe choice. You get to go and see the world if that's what appeals to you. So yeah, I'm so beyond blessed to have those experiences. And in Japan, I thought it would be 2 years, and it ended up being 15 years, and it's wild. Wild.
What made you, because you went to FSU, did you not? And when you
graduated, yes.
And when you graduated, you essentially headed out to Tokyo.
Yes, exactly. I left Japan, or I left Florida with I had already applied for this job with the Japanese government. I was gonna create English curriculum and teach English in a prefecture in Japan, and see how it went. And it went really well.
Crazy. Got to 15 years later.
Yes. It was so good.
That's really amazing. When you talk about intuition, I think this is a subject that comes up often in the conversations that we have, especially on this show, because it is truly when we talk about following what lights you up, intuition often presents as that light. Mm-hmm. So how do you define intuition? And furthermore, how do you cultivate intuition? How do you recognize it and then just zhuzh it in your life?
Yes, and I love the word zhuzh, girl. I love zhuzh. I love a good zhuzh.
I love a good zhuzh too. Okay, let's just zhuzh it up. Let's zhuzh the shit out of it. Okay.
Yes, indeed. Oh my goodness. So I define intuition as an internal guidance. And internal guidance looks similar amongst all of us, and it can look very different among all of us. I remember being a teen and being in different places, you know, in the United States, nature would always be communicating with me, letting me know I'm in the right place, letting me know that this is something I need to pay attention to in my listening, you know, to be on. I remember being in a hotel. I used to serve as a board member as a teenager in my church's denomination back in the day. And I remember being in a hotel room, and it's like the 5th floor, like it's pretty high up there. And there's like a butterfly like dancing on my window. I'm like, what are you doing here? What's going on? But mid-moment, I had like an important choice to make. And I was like, great, see you, source, hear you, source, feel you, source, thank you. And just being in this constant acknowledgement with source and this dance and appreciation for the things that I was shown and told and whatnot. And so as far as cultivating intuition, I really think it comes down to awareness. That is the key word. It's really awareness. Source, our higher self, God, the universe is always speaking, always. And it's our job to turn down the dial of the noise in our life and turn up the dial of possibility and presence that is around us always. So
I'm sorry, when you say turn down the dial of noise in our life, what exactly do you mean by that? Oh, so true.
yes.
Is meditation a part of your sort of daily routine?
Interestingly, I am someone who finds meditation in my being. It's I'm trying to explain that. I want to explain this in a way that makes sense. So I am able to tap in. I'm able to connect and be quiet. And sometimes I do that. However, for me, the most connecting, beautiful moments are behind my eyes, behind the busy, the quiet inside of a moment. And so there's no disconnection between me being in motion and me being still. The life for me is a meditation.
Dear God, I love that. And I love this conversation because so many people don't connect with meditation, or they think, you know, it's in our lexicon right now, and it's very much a buzz thing. And the discourse is that it has to look a certain way and it has to be a certain way. And when people sit down and they can't, you know, seem to quiet their thoughts and in their mind, they think they're doing it wrong. And which of course defeats the whole purpose of it anyway. Right. And how you just described it in terms of being in motion and being able to tap in as you're moving through life, that life is your meditation. This is such a beautiful concept because it really highlights the intrinsic sort of aspect of meditation, which is connection. However, in whatever way is perfect for you. And thank you for that, because you know, dear God, we don't need another thing to feel like we're doing wrong.
Right.
Right.
And if we're being, you know, if I'm being really honest, not everyone is designed, and from a human design standpoint, to have ease, experience ease with the quieting of the mind. Some people's minds are so wired for busyness, they can fall into the cycle that you just described of they're trying so hard to connect and have it be quiet, and it's not happening for them, that there's a cycle of like doom and gloom and like something's wrong with you. And it's just not true. That's not how their design really would be best utilized in order to connect. They're meant to process.
Oh, I'm so excited. And for all of our audience out there, Ameenah has offered to look at my chart with us, my human design chart, live on the air right now. We'll get to it in just a little bit. And I'm so curious, like what you see and how it may or may not explain several things in my life. And at the same time, like the beautiful tools of human design being just multifaceted in a myriad of ways that I would love for you to speak to in just a moment. Sure. But tools like that, the Enneagram, predictive index, all of those things that allow us to look at ourselves from a different perspective and understand ourselves more. It's such a gift that you are a human design specialist on top of a master Reiki. I mean, a healer in so many ways, a doula, psychic intuitive. I mean, all of your beautiful gifts that you came in with, but that you cultivated and really are so, it's such a beautiful synergy with what you're doing now. I am so curious because you are a huge dancer. Right?
Yes.
How does dancing relate to what you're doing now? And like immediately, as you were talking about meditation being in motion for you, like how does dance relate to that, to connecting?
Beautiful question. And I love that you caught that, because there isn't any separation for me. And it can be true, and is probably true for most people, that there doesn't need to be any separation. So dance was always a safe, sacred space for me growing up. When there was all of that quiet, the one thing I could look forward to weekly was dance class, whether it was ballet, tap, jazz, or African. I always came home to myself in the way that my body wanted to move, which was really special. The dance community hasn't always been, super accepting of different types of bodies and I know, it's so hard to imagine. But as I progressed through, school, and I learned how gifted I was from maybe one of our mutual teachers, a music teacher I had in junior high school, Miss Johnson. She made a statement where she said that my choreography was the best that she'd ever seen in all of her decades of teaching. And then she asked me to choreograph musicals, and I did. And so that was literally the start of where choreography in my life came from. And so
you just gave me rolling chills with that. And I just want to take a moment to express to really highlight the fact that words are so powerful.
Yes.
And from a mentor and a teacher, those moments, Ameenah, where she saw you and she recognized your brilliance and she saw your talent, and then to have the courage to speak to it. And perhaps it was just something that flowed freely from her heart. I just want to highlight that and maybe take a moment to say, let us never hold back things like that we can share with another, because we're all teachers to somebody and we're all students to somebody. Yeah. It's how cool for her to do that, and for you to carry that with you and let your light just radiate even more from those words that stoked the embers of your fire.
Yes. It was literally life-changing to go from really this dark, prior to just very dark and gray, and the whole latchkey, and mind you, I'm speaking of this kind of lightly. However, I've done so much work around my childhood. Girl, this is why we're here. Yeah.
Yes.
Indeed.
In my own personal opinion, yes.
Yes. And then to have my gifts recognized, I really found myself in that moment and going forward, just fully in light and being able to shine and express. So it was super special. So with movement, I've never been one to be able to go into the studio and simply choreograph. It's never been a thing in all my years of dance. However, I found that the best way to connect is simply to hear the music. And I would be in meditation, if you will, with the music, and I would get downloads on what the choreography is meant to be. So for the majority of dance, I directed a dance company in Japan. I did so many things with dance. with all that I've done, being able to have the music tell me what it's meant to be, right? What the movement is meant to be is just one of those just beautifully spiritual experiences. And I'm so grateful to see what music is requested in the same way that Source is requesting always. So yes, I love that you made that connection.
Oh, I think it's so, in my own personal experience, like the body, mind, and spirit, inextricably linked. We cannot deny or ignore one part of those. We are that and everything, right?
Yeah.
All at the same time. So I love the fact that you were aware enough to have a relationship with your body. And listen, from everything that you've said, you had an amazing grasp of presence all growing up. That's special and unique. Because I think a lot of us are future thinking, or we're, thinking about the past, but to be able to hear the music and get those downloads. By the way, you are like renowned for your choreography and your dance troupe, especially in Japan. You set records. So like, this is amazing that you followed that thread and your joy and were present enough to hear and heed that.
Yeah. I'm beyond grateful. It's an extraordinary gifting of Source, and like I've always carried it with such honor. It's been beautiful.
How did that translate, or how do you use it in the healing work that you do now?
So I'll give the future answer, as in the next couple of months to a year. I'm actually going to be doing some full trainings in somatic movement and cultivating your spiritual intuition inside of your body and bringing it out through movement. And so co-creating this workshop with a good friend of mine, and we have a plan to do one before the year ends in November in California, potentially, and then one in Costa Rica as early as March next year. So that's the immediate plan.
That is so exciting.
Yes, it's very exciting. And I can't wait to loop in all of this work that I do presently with the joy and the privilege of moving my body and helping other people to move theirs. Yes.
So that is just amazing. And it's really cool to be able to, we're constantly coming full circle, right? Yeah. Because we're the cumulative nature of our being in every moment. All we have is now, right? The present is the present, our gift. And so how cool to be able to just sort of pull from your bag of tricks and pull from your loves and what you do innately. The power in the alignment of that, meaning like, this is what works for you. It's something that's been a part of you from day one. It's something innate that moves through you, that whispers through you. It's creation, sort of whispering through you. To be able to offer that and engage with people and help them tune into that, I would imagine it feels so amazing in sort of a full, like, in terms of a total alignment, soulgasmic way, for lack of a better word.
Yes, girl. It is. And there is one of the most beautiful spiritual experiences that I've had have been through movement. And like the moments when we are done and everyone can feel just that wave of energy that's cycled through each of us. And there's like silence and no one dares move or says anything until it's time to like start breathing again. Because it's so profound. It's really, really beautiful.
When you have that, when you open yourself and consciously and sort of mindfully and heartfully connect those three things that we perceive as disparate so many times, like when you remember the truth of who you are, and remember in terms of the opposite of dismember, right?
Yeah.
Bringing back together those seemingly disparate parts, body, mind, and spirit. It's in that total alignment where you feel that ecstasy of what you're talking about so beautifully. It's so powerful and so profound. And I like give you so many props to just recognize that and incorporate it consciously into your life and work.
Yeah.
Because so many of us don't give ourselves permission to do that, you know?
And that is why I'm here. Like, truly, like, imagine a world where everyone is doing their life's work.
Oh, girl. You just give me rolling chills. I love this.
Yes. I don't want to waste time. And I don't want to waste time with, us messing around doing things that are really not important. Like, and so many people are close to what they're meant to be doing as their life's work, and they don't recognize that they're close. And, part of the reason why I love human design so much is because it helps you like land that shit. Like, let's go. Right? Like,
yes,
we don't have time, right, to play and like, 60, I found my calling. Like, come on, let's go.
Seriously.
And we can change. Like, what we're doing in a moment gets to change if we'd like it to. However, like, there's no reason to wear confusion anymore. Like, we get to like feel it and know it and live it. So
when you speak with a new client or a potential client, how do you identify exactly what you're talking about? Like that confusion, that sort of, I liken it to either sitting on the sidelines of your life or leaning against the back wall, if you want to use a theater term, of your life, instead of stepping out and just taking a chance and having the courage to take a risk. How do you identify that? How does it present in your clients when they come to you?
Yeah, so everything, as you know, is energy, and you can feel someone who is living an embodied, like, full out life, right? And you can't fake it, just because someone is like excited or like, seems to be extroverted. That's not it. It's a vibration. And this vibration is like that authenticity that their current self matches with their higher self. And it's right there. Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that true? Like this is so beautiful because I offer, for the love of God, this always comes up, but I truly believe it to be true because we've all had experience with it. But there's our inner self, our higher self, our source self, however you want to define it, and then there's that outer persona that we show to the world, and so often they're separate. Yeah. And in that chasm lies all of the unprocessed emotion, the guilt, shame, anger, things that we are hiding or ashamed of, and if we have the courage of awareness, which is that like quintessential term that you brought up, to turn on our light of awareness and to look at that and have the courage to process it and embrace it and know that it's okay and process it, it starts to dissipate. And you finally start moving at the speed of life in that authenticity, which is total freedom. Yeah. And like we as energetic beings, as animalistic beings, like in this human experience, we can feel that as a vibration when people are not that, or when people really are.
Totally. We can see it, we can feel it, we can hear it. It's there. And when we don't allow ourselves to be authentically us, we're actually robbing the other person and other people with access to their own selves.
Oh, that is so huge. I've heard you speak so eloquently about grace. What is the relationship between grace and what you're talking about just in your life? If you want to speak to or have any examples of those transformative moments when you did not feel authentic, or when you experienced the realization of living something that wasn't true to you, wasn't good for you,
Mm-hmm.
and taking us through the process of that, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. No, not at all. I'd be happy to. So I love the question. Grace for me it's such an important word. And in human design, my personality sun, as it's called, or my lead energy in life is actually called the gate of grace. And so those people that have this grace piece are really given often opportunities in life to exercise grace. And what does that entail? It means moments where you get to forgive often. And one of those major moments for me was when I realized my relationship with my now ex-husband was over, and how inauthentic I had been in my relationship with him, and how I was living such a shell of my fullness, like my dance and dance company, my touring for Dance Fitness, my children, all of these people got the real me. And because of my experience of my ex-husband being inauthentic also, and having some very serious traits of narcissism, I hid myself. I hid myself for a decade from him in order to protect me. And so part of my journey of letting that relationship go, and actually the reason why I live in America again, is really because I was leaving that environment. And I got to exercise grace with myself for all the ways that I could have ended the marriage long before, and left, and allowed him to go be happy, allowed myself to go be happy. And also like grace, to him, that as terrible as, on a human level, some of the things that occurred in that marriage were, and the ways in which he, chose to show up, and the wrong that no one should do to another person. I also got to see the little boy in him, and how his upbringing 1000% created, and altered this soul. And so this exchange of grace, and like seeing little me, come together and make two wonderful now teenagers.
What?
I have nothing but grace. And it's actually something that he doesn't really believe, that I could have nothing but love for him. It doesn't matter. I am truly in a space of just like tremendous gratitude for finding me and being the best version of me that I can for my kids. So that's all that matters.
I so appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. And I so appreciate you not shying away from the fact that there were painful moments in there, and that there was, trauma and abuse and all of those things that we sort of go through the ringer with when we are not living authentically, and we're with partners that aren't living authentically either, and maybe don't even have the awareness to know how their childhood has influenced, right? Their behavior. But I love the fact that you haven't shied away from that. And I also love the fact that, speaking through the lens of human design, you're able to understand more about yourself, understand more about him. It's not an excuse, but it is an understanding, right? That allows you then to process your own emotion, to take your power back, and to be like, okay, this is my life.
Yes.
Where do I need to be?
Yeah.
What do I need to do? How do I need to nourish myself and my kids to be able to find my authentic self again?
Yes.
That takes tremendous courage. Holy shit balls, tremendous courage.
Yeah.
And then move back to East Lansing. Good Lord, honey.
Good Lord is right. I knew I was never coming back to the country, the state, let alone East Lansing. However, it's been a beautiful healing process and all of the ways where I could appreciate it for the first time.
Ooh, isn't that amazing?
It is.
Wherever it takes you from here, wherever it takes both of us.
Exactly.
Ooh, love that. With your level of presence, which you can feel, by the way, it's like I understand now why your clients say that, talk about you holding space in such a magical way. Like that, you're sort of sitting in the seat of your soul presently, still with stillness, but with agility. It's really beautiful. I can feel it. And I'm so appreciative of it.
Wow. Thank you.
Let's talk about human design a little bit.
Yay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Will you explain to our beautiful audience what human design is?
Sure. It would be my pleasure. So human design, I refer to, or we as a community refer to as a newer modality that encompasses all of these ancient technologies. So it combines Eastern and Western astrology. You have the Jewish, the Kabbalah, the tree of life. You have the Chinese I Ching, and then you have the Hindu chakra system. So what was once 7 chakras, now 9 chakras are the centers in human design. So it's really cool.
Ooh, that is all encompassing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yes. So it came about in the late 80s and really has had a lot of impact, particularly in Europe. And it feels like America's slowly emerging and definitely more rapidly now. So it's just an amazing tool for understanding yourself. It's really a blueprint for our lives and how we're designed.
And you take like your birth date and the time and you look at it through the lens of how you are sort of hardwired for this particular iteration of your human life.
Yes, absolutely.
I've seen your videos on talking about celebrity couples and their human.
Nice.
I'm like, oh my God, so awesome. It gives you such a beautiful introspection and sort of behind the scenes look of, we never know what brings two people together.
Totally.
And we never know what makes people make the decisions that they make in every moment of every day.
Yes.
And it's how cool to be able to have a modality and access to a tool that allows you to have compassion to know that everybody's just doing the best they can, given what they've survived and endured, right?
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for wanting to do this.
Of course.
What would you like to do in terms of doing maybe a mini reading?
Sure. Let's look at your chart. One thing that I want to say, and I'm going to go ahead and share screen.
Awesome.
One thing that I wanted to say is that you are what's called a generator, and you are barely a generator.
Well, I'd be lying if it was the first time I haven't been accused of being barely something.
Oh my gosh. So what I mean is that basically, if you were born like an hour before or an hour later, you would have been what's called a projector. And so like when you're in this 2-hour window that makes you a generator, which is like, it's so fun. It's super fun.
That is so fascinating. I only have a loose understanding of what that is, but I'm so curious because if I'm thinking about that correctly, I have a dear friend who is a projector, and that is an interesting one. But go ahead, give us all you got in terms of
So if you look here on your screen, and you can see my cursor move, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful. So all of these shapes on the screen are called the centers, and everywhere that you see color, whether it's in a shape or it's these striped colored lines, all of these areas of color indicate energy that you consistently have access to and you've had with you since you were born. And so that energy has always been present, and it's part of your gift that you bring to the world. And so it's a lot of fun, a lot of goodness. And let me just tell you a little bit about the energy. And I'm going to speak about it really in regards to your 3 channels and what channels are. So when you have, so you can see that there are numbers here that are lit up, and you can see the line coming out of it. When you've got, and it's called a gate, when you have one gate and one pathway, and then another gate and another pathway, like pretending you had this over here, that would make a channel. But you can see on your chart, you have one gate and not the other gate. So it just is that one gate. But
I'm
over here,
wandering around in a hallway with only one door. That's cool. Whatever. No big deal.
but let me tell you, dear Polo, about what the purpose of your one gate is. So when you have one gate and you connect with someone else like myself who has the opposite gate, which is 45, you and I together, and I don't have 21, we create a channel. And this is where attraction comes from. Friendship, romantically, it doesn't matter. When you are connected to someone, you are connected based off of their electromagnetics. And there's multiple places in our charts. If we put our charts together, where you'd see I have 40, I have 43, and you have 23. I have 45, you have 21. I have 30, you have the whole channel. Like, these are all places that really make sense as to why us reconnecting is like, girl, like, we've been friends forever.
That is
super fun. Yeah, it's super fun. Super fun. And there's like plenty other places, let me tell you. So
I'll meet you in the channel anytime.
I love it. So one of the channels that you do have is the 1648. And the nickname of this channel is actually called the Channel of Talent. And it is a channel, I know, it's a channel that's super fun and can be super fun. Let me put an asterisk next to it.
I come with an asterisk, so
yes, right?
I get it.
Yes. So why it's called the Channel of Talent is because it combines gate 16, which is the gate of enthusiasm and repetition, combined with something called the gate of the well, which is a desire and ability to go deep on a particular thing, to learn about it, understand it, and cultivate it. So enthusiasm and repetition plus going deep on a thing is going to create repetitive enthusiasm on a particular topic, which builds talent of a thing. Does that make sense?
It doesn't resonate at all. I
have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't nerd out over things at all.
Yes, exactly. And so it's so fun. So offhand, as I think about celebrities, I remember like Robin Williams had this channel. You know, when you think about how gifted he was with, you know, his comedy and his offerings, and just night after night doing the work.
I have to tell you, it is so bizarre that you bring up Robin Williams. Ever since I was like a baby child, has been just like, has been a kindred spirit in so many ways, and an inspiration in so many ways. But more than that, not just looking at, you know, the magnificent talent that he was, but feeling a deep resonance and kinship with him, not just for the comedy aspects.
Yes.
But for that sort of, you can go down the rabbit hole and it can take you either up or it can take you down into some dark places. And both I resonate with him so much. So I find that fascinating. And maybe that is just sort of highlighting on the places that we connect.
Yes. Wow. Then that's exactly it. You don't need to be in the physical presence of another person to have an electromagnetic connection. there are people, there are stars, there are neighbors, whomever, where we've always been drawn to them. And we don't know why, but yet our wiring it has an imprint of the experience of that individual.
Fascinating.
I know. So fun. So fun. Yeah. So channel of talent. One other thing that I want to mention is just let me continue with the channels, and I'll share this doozy because I love her so much. So
this is juicy. I love it. All right. Here we go.
So you have a defined sacral. So this colored in sacral is what makes you a generator. And having energy in your sacral center is like life force energy, creativity, all of us. And I'm a generator also. So this is how we roll. This is what we do. Yes. But you have here this tiny channel in there connecting the sacral and the root, the 360 channel. And this channel is called the channel of mutation. And the channel of mutation is fun. And I love it because it is pure mutative energy, which means it's here to really be revolutionary. It's here to be its own person, its own individual, and come up with unique ways to do things, to create things, to simply live. And as an example of your living, cultivate this experience of like people like transfixed, even like, oh, what's Polo up to these days? Like, what? I need to check them out. I need to know. And as you just continue to push forward and live your life, you are unconsciously blazing a trail of individualness.
That is fascinating. I wonder if it, I'm not a very conventional person, we'll say. I put that politically correctly. I'm not a very
you could have fooled me.
You're like, what? Yes, we know. We all know. But what you just said, like, explains that. I'm so appreciative. You're making me realize that maybe things in my life can make sense, Ameenah.
Yes, girl. Yes. And that's what you're here to do. You're really here to be your own person and not have a life that looks like anyone else's.
Thank God. Will you please just tell my parents that?
Be like, parents, fast forward to 56 minutes in.
Yes, you don't have to watch any other thing except 56 minutes in. That's the way and I think you'll find it interesting. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes, truly.
Oh,
and this is, I'm so glad you mentioned parents, because this is like the bigger, like this is where my work is going. I'll always do individual work. I love working on people and with their businesses. There's another part of my work where I'm called to really support families. When we have parents that understand who they are and how they're designed, and they're able to understand their children and how they're designed, come on. Like, you want to talk about like ending like domestic violence and like, all of these aspects of society that are trauma based. Like, this is how you end trauma, in my experience, by learning who you are.
And you offer it in such a way where you're not just learning who you are, but you're coming to appreciate those weirdo idiosyncrasies that, depending on what you believe, we chose as our constellation attributes before we came in, right?
Yes.
Ooh, yes. I'm deeply appreciative of this conversation, because if we together can even shed one modicum of light on the fact that we are far more similar than we are different. And it's in those differences where our value and our contribution to this world is absolutely encapsulated. So let your freak flag fly in terms of what all of those things that make you unique and special and needed in this world. Like,
absolutely.
Yes. Thank you for being just a champion for that, because it's huge.
It takes, as you mentioned, courage. And I'm not talking about me per se. I'm talking about an opportunity to see something, even when it scares what scares you, and you choose to immerse yourself in it and try it on. And then in the trying on, you feel the truth like just leaking out, and that you have to move in that direction. And that's where this came from for me. Like I had to, like, as you know, it doesn't make sense that we would walk blindly in the desert for 40 years. Like we get to really be with the truth of who we are and live that out. And so for me, I am so grateful to do this work. And I'm also so grateful to like gently push and encourage others to like step in. So,
oh my God, you are the definition of a light worker and a light bearer and a light bringer. Like you just bring it with you. You are it. Thank God for you.
And you, girl, seriously. And with that, we get to talk about this third channel that you've got going on here. And it's so interesting. And as I'm experiencing you now in our adulthood, I'm really curious to see what else gets to occur because of your unique wiring in your life. So this 3041 channel, it's called the channel of recognition, connecting your emotions to your root center. And what this channel does in a nutshell is that there is a pressure to experience the full spectrum of human emotion in your life.
Finally, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yes. And so this is 30 is the gate of radiance, and 41 is the gate of imagination or fantasy. And this is part of where your art comes from, your love and appreciation of art, and wanting to bring characters to life and wanting to, move in a way that like has people feel deeply. Right? This is why it's Soulgasm for you. I know why it's Soulgasm for me, but this is it, right? There's so much depth available to you in this channel, and you recognizing the emotion and the experiences of others and wanting to uplift their stories and bring more out, make it more available and accessible to the world is really, really beautiful.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. The whole range of human emotions, just FYI.
Ta-da! Yes.
Thank you for that.
It's a gift. And people, when they experience you, get to have this breath of not only fresh air, but also like air that wasn't available to them before this moment. And so, yeah.
Oh my gosh, thank you for saying that. Okay, so now you know why Soulgasm for me.
Yeah.
Will you tell us why Soulgasm for you?
Oh, sure. So I'm gonna stop. I'll leave your chart up and let me explain it and just give you a glimpse of what my chart looks like in the
totally.
Yes.
Whatever you want.
So you can take away many of the things that you have, and my centers are really these same four at the bottom. However, the two channels that I have is here. It's called the channel of transformation. So I'm always drawn into creating transformation for people. And then this channel here is called the channel of intimacy. And I have this channel not once, not twice, but 3 times in my chart. Yes. So intimacy being the major theme of my life. And how I know it's so like it explains so much. When I think about being a kid and also being an adult, me, when it comes to like friendships, like like I said, I've always loved people for so long, and the desire is to simply know people. However, most people aren't wired for that. And so when I'm like, oh girl, we should do lunch, and for some people, like, yeah, we spoke last year and caught up. Like, I'm good. And I'm like, wait, what? What am I talking about? But my definition of closeness and intimacy really is, there's time, there's depth and vulnerability in conversation. Like, really, how are you doing, sis? Like, that kind of connection with people versus like, oh, Johnny's 17 now, he's learning to drive, like this, whatever that doesn't require depth has never satiated me. So intimacy being super important. So
I was going to say, no wonder why you don't want to exist in that superficial or surface sort of level. It's exhausting.
Do it.
Given your hard wiring, like, and it's your beautiful gift of wanting to know more and feel more and connect more. Ooh.
Yeah, I can't do fake. I can't. So Soulgasm for me came about, and the tagline that I use is finding the ecstasy in living. And as we're living our lives and being who we are, like, there's truly ecstasy in every single moment that's available to us, pleasurable or even painful, if we are tapped in.
Oh my God. I cannot believe the synchronicity. And from what you just showed, like our similarities in charts, like I get it intimately. Yeah. And how unbelievably cool to be able to celebrate that.
Yes.
And reconnect as we're Crunch Fitness, whatever.
We need free memberships. Come on, Crunch. Right?
Shout out to Crunch Fitness.
Our today's sponsor.
This ad brought to you by free challenges and also amazing equipment and personal trainers. Anyway, whatever makes Crunch so beautiful and amazing.
Oh my gosh, too funny.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. So the one last thing I was going to express is around your G center. And the G center, you and I actually have this as a similarity, and it's why I wanted to talk about it. You have what's called an open G center, and the G center is.
I would like you to spread the word. I'm single at the moment, and an open G center is a really good thing to know.
Oh my goodness! And to have this information and be single is very powerful. So I'm super glad that we're having this conversation and to know that you're single.
Dear God, me too.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. So the G center and the heart center used to be one once upon a time before there was the split in centers. And so the G is responsible for love, self-love, direction, identity. And, for both of us having an open G center, it really is an energy of free-spiritedness all day long. Personally, my experience is like, I always feel as though I belong everywhere I go. Like, I can be with the PTO moms. I could, be at the club until 2 a.m. I could be in New York or in quiet East Lansing. It doesn't matter. I always feel as though I'm freely able to shift from place to place and find and be myself.
Me too.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
That means we could go anywhere together and meet for lunch or up in the club.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the other side of the G that I wanted to make sure I stated was that the G itself, one of the main things that the open or undefined G does is that it always sees the potential in everyone. And
I don't know what you mean.
Exactly.
Oh my God, this is explaining so much, by the way. Okay, keep going.
Yes. And obviously we can see the positives of that. Like, we just love and come on in. And of course, and then there's the additional layers of we can be sucked into relationships, or let me say, we allow ourselves to be sucked into relationships that are not good for us because we can see the potential of who they are,
I don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't seem familiar or resonate at all. I'm trying to think. Nope, not at all.
Man, I'm going to have to go back to the books on that one. I didn't realize I was so off.
Yep, totally off. Absolutely off.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's super important for adults, particularly women, to be aware of, that have the white in their G center, openness in their G. And it's also really important for children, for those people that are parents. If your child has a open or undefined G center, you want to be extra mindful of who they are friends with, who's in their friend group, what are the values of the house that the friends, grow up in. And without it, there can be an identification that's formed, like, I'm not my own person because you're open, but I am my friends.
Oh, this is so fascinating. And I'm so appreciative of this conversation, because I have learned through pain and violence and some dark times, I have learned that the inner child that I see, the spirit that I see, the potential that you're talking about that I see in others, is not necessarily who they are in their behavior and their human incarnation here right now.
Yeah.
And like, so often you're not having a relationship with their potentiality, you're having a relationship with their pain. And is that makes for a painful and sometimes violent and losing yourself sort of dynamic and relationship. And thank you for like saying that. And for any of you who have not had your chart read, like it's things like that. And especially doing it when you're with your kids, before they go out into the world on their own in ways like that. What a beautiful thing to be aware of and not have to maybe learn through experience of pain and violence and all those things, right?
Agreed. There are certain things that we're here to learn and to go through and experience, that we chose. And I believe we chose all of it. However, there's certain ways that we don't have to have the full impact of a horrific experience in order to have the learning.
Life will offer you opportunities, right?
Yeah.
It'll offer you growth opportunities.
Yes.
And going back to what you said in the very beginning, it does not have to be difficult or painful.
It doesn't. And we're all going to have trauma. We're all going to have pain. And, just thinking about my upbringing, like, my trauma is really like an absence of like major childhood trauma. However, my trauma was being alone for so many years, waking myself up, getting myself to school, coming home to a quiet, empty house. Like, that's my trauma, the silence, right? Yeah. But there's other trauma that it could have occurred in different ways, but this is what I needed and this is what I chose. And it is what it is, And
I love that you bring up your trauma, other people's trauma. It's all relative. There is no, there are no levels or this is real trauma and this is not real. All of that through the eyes and lens of a child, it's all sudden and overwhelming, especially when you are relying on those who are bigger than you for survival.
Yeah.
So trauma is trauma. Yeah. And it gives you such beautiful pause to understand, once again, not an excuse for other people's behavior, but it is definitely an understanding where you can be like, okay, right now I am interacting with their woundedness. Yes. They're doing the best they can, given what they've survived. Doesn't mean I have to stay here, and it doesn't mean I have to take that, but it does offer me some understanding as to why.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so like honored to be able to experience your genius in this way and your thorough understanding of human design. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. And such a joy.
You can glimpse where your intuition and your clairaudient, clairvoyant, all of your clairsentient, all of your psychic gifts come into play in this. Like, what a beautiful, beautiful modality you've created in just by being the fractal nature of who you are.
Yes, yes. And take me out, if you were talking to somebody else, just how you express that is like gorgeous. So thank you for being able to see. And
oh my gosh.
Yes. So.
What a cool thing to be able to celebrate it together. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
We always end each episode with a heart seat round of questions. So they're hot seat questions from the heart. So whatever bubbles up.
Sure.
First impression. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready.
First impression. Whatever bubbles up is the perfect, in whatever way is perfect for you.
Great. Love it.
Okay. So what would you say is your core code? Like, what are your top 3 personal values?
So personal values, integrity, number 1, integrity, keeping my word, to myself first and foremost, and being attuned and following what I need to do in order to be in alignment. This is absolutely number 1. Number 2, I would say, this one came from East Lansing, my experience. I remember it's so to answer the question, it's seeing the beauty in everyone and everything. And this came from being on a bus and watching older kids like bully other kids. Sometimes I was bullied, and me having a choice, like, was I going to follow down this path where other kids were learning to bully each other, or was I going to see beauty in everyone and everything? And I just chose the latter. So the third thing, we fucking have some fun. Like, we get to get naked and skinny dip. Like, that was my Memorial Day by the weekend in Lake Superior. Yes.
Lake Superior, which for many of you who don't know is the deepest lake of the Great Lakes. Holy shit,
yes. Like, have some fun. Like, we are here to have this experience, and we should be having fun, playful fun, pleasure all day, every day.
Oh, I love that. What a beautiful 3. Okay. So what daily routines do you have, if any, that are non-negotiable? What things do you feel like you must do every day?
So my must-dos are simply flow. I love and need flow. Structure for me does not work, where like I have to do this, I have to do that. Have tos are for the birds. I need to be able to wake up, flow into an appointment, flow out of an appointment, eat when I'm led to eat what I'm led to eat, like move in a way that feels just innate, intuitive, and good for me.
Spoken like a dancer to the core of your being. That's amazing.
Oh my God.
So when you feel sort of off kilter, what brings you back to center?
Music. Absolutely. Music. Yeah, I'm just so deeply connected to music. There's so much space and depth and just beauty there. Just snap me right back.
Oh, I love that. What do you consider to be your purpose or your life's mission?
My purpose is to understand me and always be in a space of curiosity for that learning to consistently be there and to be curious about everyone and everything and learn. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And then our final question, what is something that very few people, if anybody, know about you?
Very few people know about me. Ooh. I secretly want to be the lead singer in a rock band. I am not even
make this happen. Are you kidding me? Amazing.
I am not even joking.
I cannot tell you what joy that brings me to know that about you. And you would crush it. You would crush it.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Bless you.
Oh my gosh. Ameenah, What an ecstatic pleasure this has been to reconnect with you in this way, and hopefully many, many, many more ways.
Yes, girl. Absolutely. What a joy. I'm so glad for that serendipitous coming to the Crutch Fitness doors at the same time. Like, no
without open channels and open G centers. Whatever. It was kismet.
I love it so much. Oh, so perfect. So perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to leave our audience with before we sign off for the day?
I simply would say, if you do not know your human design, you have not explored it, you've not unpacked it, do that. It doesn't necessarily need to be with me, although I'm happy to support you in that journey. Go and learn deeply and unpack the parts of you so you can really start living your highest purpose.
Oh my goodness. Your curiosity is infectious, and the space that you create with your deep authenticity and just like being present in the seat of your soul is such a gift to the world. I am so glad that I got to experience it, and especially that our audience got to experience it too. Let's do this again sometime.
Yes, please. Absolutely. Anytime, Polo. Thank you, love. Thank you.
Love you dearly.
Yes.
This is awesome.
Love you too.
Hey.
Bye.
Okay, awesome. Oh my gosh, honey, thank you.
So fun. Look at that conversation.
You are brilliant and amazing. I am so utterly overjoyed that we were able to connect again. Let's keep this going, shall we?
Yes, definitely. I would love that. And next, it's your turn. I get to interview you.
Oh my gosh, I would love it. Yes, any excuse to talk with you again.